Okay, students, we are on, in your lab book, on page 20 through 22 to do this lab that you missed in class. So open your lab books to 20 through 22. I'm going to show you what we did in class, and then you can hopefully do it at home or at least write down the data. Okay, so what we did was we took 10 chocolate chips, 10 butterscotch chips, and 10 vanilla chips. Okay, and we just took them, and the first part tells you to cut up all of them with a knife. So we just hurried and cut them up with a knife and just made little fragments, or what we're calling sediments, right? Because this is weathering and erosion, and this is going to make sediments. So this obviously simulates dirt or stones that have been weathered and eroded. So we just cut them all up and we put them in the middle here. And then on number 1, it says describe your observations in words. So I just want you to write down some words, like they're just separate sediment pieces that are not stuck together at all. Okay, so just write that down. And then on 2 and 3 in those boxes, I just kind of want you to draw what you're seeing. And I don't really care if you do brown, light brown, and white. You can do red, yellow, and blue. I don't care what colors. But what I want you to show is how the sediment pieces are separate. So just draw little separate fractions of a piece, okay? So little circles will work for this part, okay? And just show it from the top, show it from the side, and draw that. Okay, then the next part, in part 2, you're supposed to make a sedimentary rock. So we took our rock and we wrapped it up in the foil. Okay, and then we put a heavy thing on it. In class, we put books on top of it for a couple minutes, and we just let it harden up and smush. And so we had some pressure on there. In the rock cycle, that process is called lithification. And basically that pressure is squeezing out all the air and water so that it turns from sediments into sedimentary rock. So we did that, we simulated that, and we got a sedimentary rock. I don't know if you can really see that very good. Okay, so they're now, instead of being separate sediments, they're now sediments that are smushed together. Okay, so it basically looks the same, except now they're kind of cemented together. Okay, we call that cementation and compaction in that lithification process. So on this part 2, I want you to kind of describe that in words, how now the sediments are cemented together. And then on 5 and 6, sorry, that was 4. And then on 5 and 6, you're just going to color a picture. So basically you're going to color a picture of all the sediments now smooshed together and stuck together, being a sedimentary rock. Okay, so that was part 2. Then in part 3, we took our same rock and we rubbed it between our hands. We took the heat of our hands and we smushed it and with our hands in the heat, and that is the process of metamorphosis, okay? So metamorphosis is where the rock, whether it's sedimentary or igneous or whatever, that rock goes under tremendous heat and pressure, and it actually oftentimes makes the rock look kind of melted together, like instead of separate sediments like sedimentary, we see those sediments like melt together, and it makes a metamorphic rock. So if you want to look at this rock, it's now hardened back up, which is perfect, but you can see now it looks like melted and smushy, okay? And so that one's the one you're going to describe in part 3 there. So describe that you can kind of see the sediments there, but now they're smushed and melted together. Okay, and so describe that and then draw that. Again, I don't care what colors, just kind of draw that now that everything's like sort of melted together and mushed. Okay? All right, the last part we did in class was then we took our rock, I made a rubber rock, and we took it to a hot plate. We took it to a griddle and we heated it up. Okay? And so we have a rock to show you here. Okay, and once you heat it up, basically you are making this rock to be mantle. Okay, it's melting back into the inside of the earth, into the asthenosphere, and now it's all melted into mantle or liquid rock. And you can see this is super runny and liquidy. Okay, and then after we did that, we just let it sit. Okay, so we're just gonna let this sit for like 10 minutes, and what's gonna happen is it's gonna harden up again. And once it hardens up again, then it's an igneous rock. Woo! So we're going from sedimentary to metamorphic, and then melting that into mantle, and then making a igneous rock, because igneous rocks always come from magma and lava. And so it's pretty cool. We also looked at some rocks in class to see what those different rocks look like. But I just want to make sure that you understand all the processes that happen in the rock cycle, so we just modeled that. And then after we were able to eat the rocks, but you may not want to do that at home. So Anyway, hopefully that helps you. Go ahead and draw everything and describe everything on pages 20 and 21. And then turn over to page 22, and it's basically going to ask you about the processes that we did. For example, the first one said shaving and chopping the chips. So what does that represent? Well, we obviously talked about that represented weathering and erosion. So write weathering and erosion, and then create a definition. How does this happen in real life? So weathering and erosion typically happens with water or wind or ice. And so you write that down, and then where on earth does that process happen? Like on the surface or inside the crust? Weathering mostly happens on the surface where air and water can get to it, or people can walk on it, or animals or something. Okay, so I just want you to go through that and just kind of be reminded of all the processes. That's what's really important about this unit, is that about the rock cycle, is that you understand the processes and also how slow or fast they are. Like the cooling of an igneous rock can be really fast, but the making of sediment is really slow because weathering and erosion is really slow over time. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions, email me, but otherwise get pages 20 through 22 done for those people that missed today. Thanks, guys.